I'm Faye Marie Richard Venable. I'm 72 years old. I'm originally from Richard, Louisiana. I now reside in Church Point, Louisiana.
Do you speak Cajun French?
Yes, I do.
Can you say some words for us?
Comment ça va? C'est une belle journée aujourd'hui. Le soleil après briller.
Tell me about your childhood.
I had a very loving childhood. Loving parents. I had 7 siblings, with myself being 8. We had good times. We had hard times, but always full of love, and we never really wanted for anything. Times were hard, but the love and the companionship made it much easier. Our siblings were actually our best friends. We spent Sundays at family gatherings. We went to aunts, uncles, and cousins. We had Sunday dinner. We normally went to church every Sunday before we had all this planned, unless we had a long trip to take. And that's about it. Just a loving family. Worked hard together. We pulled together. We protected each other. Not in a bad way, but we protected each other. We had grandparents that were very, very attentive. Even step-grandparents that took us in like we were family. My parents were Ravis and Urella Richard, and they were farmers for a long time. Then my father became sick and was disabled. My mother was a Richard before she married, and at school we always had that continued. No, I want her maiden name, not her married name. I said her maiden name is Richard, and so is her married name. So every year when school would start, we'd go register and whatever. It was the biggest commotion with that. They were great people, great farmers, worked hard. My mother worked really hard. My father worked really hard too. My brothers and sisters and even myself worked hard. We all pulled together and we made it. We were poor but happy and contented. I remember my mother's father. He was single, or I can't describe exactly, but he raised his 3 daughters pretty much on his own with the help of his parents and some of his siblings, which they all turned out to be beautiful people. In fact, my mother graduated valedictorian of her 8th grade class, but I don't remember how far in school she went, but she was very smart. My grandparents on my dad's side, I didn't know my real grandmother. I had a step-grandmother that was very, very good to us. And my grandfather was very good to us, treated us very kindly. He had 10 children, so he had a lot of grandkids and great-grandkids and so on and so forth. And he treated us with great respect, and he always encouraged us to get an education. My father also encouraged us to get an education. He used to tell us that he had not gone to school, but we were going to go to school. We were 8 siblings. We all graduated, thanks to God. And my grandmother, John, we call her Momo John, and she and I had a very, very close relationship. She was my step grandmother. And I'll never forget it. I'd go spend the night, and every time she knew I was coming, she made the best macaroni and cheese in the oven that you could ever put your mouth on. And every time she knew I was coming, she would make some. And she always cooked good meals for us, and many vehicles, and actually we only kept them for purposes of doing errands, and we couldn't drive them very far, to be honest with you. So, but we managed, and so I would go spend the night with her because that was a lot of times the only way I got to visit with her. And the funniest thing is, she was a chewer. She would chew. She chewed fiber, and she had it was like looked like a piece of brownie, and she cut a piece off, and she'd chew, and she'd spit in her spittoon. And every morning before I leave to go to school, whenever I would go spend the night, I would empty it for her before I left to go to school. She was very good to us. My grandpa died many years before that. So after he died, we had kind of lost contact, but we regained it. And being a step grandmother, she at some point in time, I guess, didn't feel like she was welcome, but I loved her like a real grandmother. She was the only grandmother I knew. My grandpa died a long time ago. My other grandpa died many years ago as well. And my grandmother, I didn't know her on my mother's side whatsoever. My mother's family, she only had 2 sisters, and they kind of lived a little distance, but on Sundays, we'd all gather, and we'd go spend the day, and get there early in the morning, and leave like probably a little after lunch, so that we could get back home and tend to our chores. I don't think we really knew much of our other ancestors. It was hard to, there was no computers, no books. There was only tales that they would tell us from what they had heard, so we don't know how accurate that was. Actually, we didn't worry about that too much. Didn't even know where I originally came from, other than my name was Richard, and my mother was a Richard, and they were of no relations. My grandchildren, I feel, to me, are as important as my own children. I treat them, and I try to treat them like they would be my own children, because they need the love and the support that, I can give. I'm 72 years old, and I don't know when my time's gonna come, but I like to be with them. I like to share my life, and I like them to share their life with me, because it's important. It's something that I always look forward to, is being with them, sitting down and having conversations and talking about good times and old times, and sometimes just sharing things that were shared with me, whether they be actually factual or actually true, part factual, part true, I guess. Just handed down stuff is all I can say. And some of the kids of today, my grandchildren, are interested in that. Not all of them, but most of them are, because they call me and question me, and, hey, Granny, do you know this? Do you know that? about this and about that. And yeah, okay. Well, we get on the phone. I have one grandson. We get on the phone and he could talk forever about stories and about people and so on and so forth, and I just tell him what I know. And, I'm glad that they're able to come to us. It's not everything that I can answer them, but their grandfather helps them in that area as well.
What are some traditions you have passed on to your family?
How to love and respect, whether you want to call that a tradition or not, it doesn't matter to me, but that's what it means to me. Because if you love and respect people, then everything else will fall into its right spot and its right way. I have shared recipes. I have tried to teach them how to cook. Don't know too much about traditions. I don't know if you would call them tradition, just ways of living and making a good life. Um, how to love, how to respect, how to honor, how to follow their hearts, but also make good and correct judgments, how to not act hastily, how to ponder on things, how to think about it, and most of all, how to pray about it. Uh, Prayer is a big thing for me. And traditions. I don't know what you would call traditions. It's just a way of life, because tradition is something that being practiced over and over again. And sometimes what used to be a tradition, I change it up to what I want it to be, my way. I don't follow traditions, you know, because it could be good and it could be bad. It depends on what kind of tradition you're talking about. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, not for the whole state, not for the whole country, not for the whole world. I'm speaking for myself. Um, it's just like people with recipes. Some don't follow those recipes like they used to. What they do is they add, subtract, or whatever. But the basic um, conclusion comes to, guess what? Same things being used, but in a different way.
Did you attend college?
Oh no, no college. No, wish I could have, but couldn't. I probably would have had the grades, but I graduated, 55 years ago, maybe? I'm not sure. Uh, and didn't have money, didn't have transportation, didn't have no funding in no kind of way. Um, would have liked to, because I don't know what I would be today if I would have had that opportunity um, to go to college. I don't know what my choice of career would have been. I love people. I intermingle well with people. So money's not everything. Uh, Material things are not everything. And we are quite content. And oh well, if I leave my kids something after my death, they'll be lucky, but that's okay. Because you know what? I believe in blood, sweat, and tears. Work for what you want. And people just don't give you things like that. So I'd be happy to leave them the world if I could, and to leave them the fact that, guess what? You're going to make it. And if you're educated, then use that education, but use it correctly and use it for your benefit and also for the benefit of other people. That's a lot of what I tried to teach my children and my grandkids. And if you want to go back to tradition, well, guess what? We learned to work hard because nothing was given to us. We were poor. We worked in the fields. We ate cornbread. We ate biscuits, homemade bread, black-eyed beans on rice. We had potatoes on rice. Just think all them starches we had. Oh my God. We had the simple things. God is so good. I thank my mother and my father for instilling in us the value of life, the value of property, the value of friends, the value of family. All I can say is yes, we were raised poor, very poor, but we raised our food. We had gardens, we had eggs, we had milk, we had all that. The only thing we bought some mostly was maybe coffee. I remember my aunt. She had coffee beans and she had a coffee grinder, and I remember her roasting those coffee beans, and I remember the smell. So they would do most of their own work. I mean, they didn't go out and buy all ground up coffee. Eggs, we raised our own chickens. We putting the chicken in a coop for a couple of days, feeding it corn. A few days later, take her and just wring that neck, make us a stew, gumbo, whatever she, fried chicken, whatever she would do. When we had fried chicken, oh my God, that was a treat because we never had fried chicken. Now they can go to the any place, anywheres and get fried chicken. When we had Hurricane Audrey, and our barn was gone, and I had a nephew tell me that my sister, the little chickens were killed or hurt or whatever, and how it stayed with her, and it had an impact on her. And I keep telling, I don't know if it's correct or not, which I was supposed to check with my mother, but I think it had took our milk cow, but I'm not sure because I don't. I remember watching the barn go down. I remember that standing in the window and watching it just go down, and everybody crying and crying because we had never really had a hurricane like that, so we were not used to those kind of weathers. Honestly, I don't think we even knew what hit us. The communication system, today you watch TV and they tell you the hurricane's here, the hurricane's there, where it's going to hit, who's going to hit. And we didn't have that kind of communication. So we were at a total loss of what to expect. And, but we survived and we just started building up again. And then when my father got disabled, um, uh, we moved from where we were living before off of Point Noir Road. We moved from there, and we moved quite a few times as the family grew. The houses that became available were a little bit bigger, were a little bit cheaper maybe, but in rent wise, it's just things just always fell into place for us as a family. Um, my mother was a very hard worker. She was a good mother. She had 8 children. I mean, we took care of each other. I changed diapers. I was probably 5 years old, 6 years old. I changed diapers. Well, we at that age, we were not children. We had so much maturity and so much common sense that we were able to survive because we used that. We didn't have to have somebody tell us step by step what we had to do. We just did it. My mother would come for lunch and she would cook when we was in the fields and I was my turn to babysit or whatever. My mama would come home, prepare a quick meal. My mother, when lunch was ready, would throw a white towel or a white rag or a piece of old white sheet on top of the roof, and the family knew that lunch was ready, so they'd come in from the field and we'd eat And then we lay down on the floor for a little while, and then back to work we went. She picked a lot of cotton. My dad picked cotton too, but he was such a clean picker. They would put me on this row, so I had to carry his side of the row and carry my side of the row. He would pick that cotton so clean that you could tell when you throw it in the wagon, you could tell they would keep a little piece of the area like for my daddy's the cotton he would pick, you know. And I was young, and I remember breaking corn. We used to have to fold the corn, and then we'd break it at a certain time when it would get dry. I remember the walls stinging us from one end to the other. And my daddy would say, "Okay, is it swelling yet?" "No." "Well, then keep it going. When it's going to swell, we might send you home." But it never did. And later on in life, guess what? Every time I got stung, it would swell, but never swole when I needed it to swell. But those were some good days. Dug potatoes, planted potatoes. We had a stick to plant potatoes. It had two prongs, and you would stick it. You would put the plant on the row. Then you would take the stick and you'd shove it over the plant, and it would go in the ground. That was a potato, yeah. And then the sacks, Mama would make our sacks to pick cotton. She would make it pretty much the size that, at our age, I guess. Now, she would make a big old sack for a little person because you trip all over it, and I remember picking cotton in the dew. I remember picking cotton after school. Take your good clothes off, put your picking cotton clothes on. In the morning sometime, not me as much as my older siblings. Let's go pick a cotton sack before. And, sometimes they would call that scrapping as well. What was left after you finished picking the cotton, it was kind of like the leftovers. I don't know what they would do with that, if they had any monies, more monies, or exactly what they would do with that. But you'd pick bowl, and you'd pick I don't know what you call it, that it would come in, and uh, it would, a lot of people had stuff stuck in their hands, and you just grab it and you'd put it in your sack. So that was called scrapping. Now, we also hired ourselves out after we got our crops in. Me a little bit, because I was much younger than my older siblings, and I didn't do too much of that, but I did do a little. And I remember my siblings, and I remember doing it, and it was cold. I remember that. And I remember all my siblings pitching in with what they had hired themselves out, and my dad and my mom, and we bought us a car. That's what we did with the money we hired ourselves out with. We bought us a car. Oh, we was all excited with that. There was a new car. It was an old car, but it was a new car to us. Us, it was yours, mine, and ours. We shared everything. We had to. It was our survival. My mother was very creative. She sewed for us as well. My mother would take my older sister's dresses, and she would all undo them, and she'd make a pattern out of newspapers. And she would make me dresses and blouses, and she would make shirts for my brothers. She was really talented. She sewed. She was a beautiful seamstress. But I remember them patterns, them newspaper patterns and books. She would take that and cut out a pattern, and she would make that. And I I mean, it was hard to understand, that how she could do that and it would turn out so well. And they made quilts. I remember, uh, I don't remember where it was, maybe my grandparents and aunt, or I don't remember. I just remember doing it, seeing it. They had four uh, quilt things, four sticks, like it looks like poles, and they had a quilt there, and they would sew up and in and out. I remember seeing that, and I remember them cutting out all kinds of cloths from different shirts or different dresses, and they wouldn't just, and it's just like when they would kill a calf or kill a pig or something. Some of the neighbors would come to help, like I said, and they would end up leaving with a little piece of meat. And the biggest thing was, I remember, is whatever debris from that animal that was killed was cooked that day and fed to the people that came to help, which was liver, kidneys, heart, melt. I want to say sometimes they would throw in the brain, but I can't be sure. It was what you call, I still call them innards. But Mama would cook that in the oven, or she'd cook it on top of the stove, or she would make like a stew, and feed the people that would come to help with the butcher. And my dad, um, like I said, he was disabled for a few years after. Didn't do much. I want to say maybe 2, 3 heart attacks, but the massive one at 45 took his life. So my mom ended up raising 4 kids by herself. But she managed. The kids helped her, and picking cotton was fun to me. It was a new experience. Digging potatoes, we had to grade them and put them in the middle of the row, and you had big potatoes, medium potatoes, small potatoes, corn. We would shuck that. Well, actually, we throw that. It had to dry up. Once it was dry, we throw that in the barn, and then we go and we had a machine, and you put the ear of corn in the machine, and you turn the crank, and you take all the corn off the cob and feed the chickens, feed whatever animal we had to feed. I remember those days. One time I had a cousin, always would follow us. They would want to be and play and whatever, and we couldn't make them understand that, guess what? They were too small, or so on and so forth. And one day they came toward the barn, and we were shucking corn and grinding corn, and I picked up an ear of corn, and never in my wildest dream did I think I was gonna hit that person. I threw the corn, hit that person dead center in the forehead, and knocked that person out. I got in so much trouble. The mother came out, and Lordy Jesus, I ran and hid in the bayou. It was a big bayou, but it was empty. They had no water in it. And hid there for hours and hours and hours until I thought they had left. Company had come. And until they left, and then I went home, I thought I was safe, but I wasn't, because my mom and my dad told me, don't do that no more. You could have hurt that person. I said, well, they shouldn't be following us like that. We had meat on Sundays. I remember that, because it was like a holy day, because we go to church, and we were deep, hardcore Catholics. My father didn't believe in doing anything unless you went to church. And that was before he got sick. And then he still went to church as much as he could when he did get sick. My mother could recite the rosary. She prays 24/7, and she's 99 and a half years old, I believe. She prays all the time. Every time you go, she got that rosary. She prays in English. She prays in French. She prays all these prayers that I have never even heard of, but she was taught as a young child those prayers.
Do you identify as Cajun?
Yes, I do. I love the Cajun food. I'm a good cook. I love the French music. The only thing is with the French music, and I've always noticed that every song that I hear people, I don't know if people know this or if they've noticed it or if they put it together, but it's always each and every song is a story. Family life, people that go through that. I would even say, but I can't assume that. Some musicians might have even wrote about their own stories, and I listen to the words, and it tells the story, and it brings a lot of pain and a lot of sorrow to me. And I rather not listen to it. There's some songs that I enjoy. I used to enjoy music, French music all the time because my daddy would love French music. And he used to love Trace de mon buggy, which is a French song, Tracks of My Buggy. And he would tell the radio, he would listen to the radio and he would tell the radio, okay, now I gotta go take my nap. Play Les Traces de mon buggy, and as God is my witness. As soon as he'd say that, that song would come on, listen to the song, and then he'd shut it off and go to bed, take his nap. My husband and I, we always speak the French language when we're together. Sometimes we speak it in front of the grandkids or the children because we don't want them to know what we're saying. So it's just a matter of protection, we used to say for us. If we had a discussion and we didn't agree, guess what? We didn't agree in French because we didn't want our children to be a part of it. Now I have a son, very fluent in French, speaking, understanding, whatever. The only thing is I always desired, my heart desired to learn how to write in French, which I can't write in French, but I can speak it. Speak, we say what we got to say in a few words, and we are very choicey about our words because sometimes they're misconstrued. Shy, sometimes baby. It's not meaning in any kind of way other than that's how we speak. Michelle, viens voir, or hey baby, this, or I catch myself sometimes talking on the phone, to thank you baby, or something like that to a total stranger. But it's just a way of speaking. It doesn't mean anything, and most people understand that about Louisiana people and French and Cajun people. They speak from their hearts.
What makes someone Cajun?
If your heart is pure, and you've been taught as a Cajun, for instance, ways, not just traditions, ways of living, and you put it to use, that defines you. And being a Cajun is one of the proudest things that you can be because you are totally and completely separate from anyone else. Like I said, what comes from your heart and your thoughts, then you've been taught. Cajun is not learning like coming from somewhere else and just jumping in and you're automatically a Cajun. It's a way of life that you pass on that you don't have to be taught it. It is automatically instilled in you because you see it put into action, put into play. And being a Cajun, to be honest with you, there's nobody that I don't know that I ain't never made friends with, or I'm not ashamed to walk up to somebody, introduce myself, and say, "Hey, how are you doing? And can I help you?" Or so on and so forth. Just being hospitable. Cajuns are people that look out for each other. That's how I see it. Now, maybe not everybody, but all the people that I associate with, we try to help each other.
What advice do you have for the younger generations who are interested in preserving Cajun culture?
Learn the French language, first of all. Preserving the culture, the French culture. Learn the French language. Speak it. Teach it to your children. Continue cooking your Cajun recipes. Teach your children to respect and love and honor God first and then family. Be good to your family.
What is your favorite Cajun dish to prepare?
I would say gumbo, but I'm partial to stew. I make a lot of gumbo because it's easier. I just throw everything in the pot and let it cook. Throw me an old bacon hen in there and sausage and tasso and smoked turkey necks, all that good stuff. But I'm partial to stew. But I make gumbo because it's faster and it's easier. And you don't have to watch it as long. I actually like sweet potatoes with my gumbo. I don't eat rice with it. I like crackers with it sometimes. Oh, give me a chicken in a brown gravy. Smothered chicken in a brown gravy. I'm talking chicken. I'm not talking them bomb fryers. I don't fryers. No, no. Go get me a bacon hen. I can make me a good tasty old chicken with that. And I don't like that sticky chicken. That's
And what is your least favorite dish?
least favorite. Actually, I don't know. Oh, I like tomato sauce gravies, but there's only particular ones I like. I'm not, don't like I guess because my aunt cooked it so much. And I understand why she cooked it so much, because it goes so far when you have a big family. But I didn't like chicken cooked in a tomato gravy. Now, give me sausage cooked in a tomato gravy, But chicken, I would say chicken in a tomato gravy is my least. Because my aunt and I understood why, because she had a big family and it would go far.
What dish are you preparing today?
Steak in a brown gravy with a little makshu on the side.
Why did you choose this dish?
Don't cook beef very often, so it's gonna be a treat. And because I'm gonna feed my family. And it's a big old steak, humongous.
Where did you learn how to cook this?
My mom, I guess. Albert's my mother-in-law, my family, my sisters. I mean, I like chicken and I like pork, and I eat beef every so often, but to be quite honest with you, at this point in time, and I'm talking about today, not yesterday or 40 years ago, beef is expensive, so it's a treat for us today. Today we'll be cooking steak and a gravy with rice, corn makshu. We are preparing the brown gravy mix that most of the time, not always, that I put into my gravy. It's 2 packets of brown gravy mix mixed with 2 cups of water. I'm in preparation of my steaks. It's been seasoned, fixing to put it into my big black pot. I put the steak in whole, and put water in it. I always cover my steak with water until the top of the steak. I let it cook till it's to the tenderness that I want. Then once it's tender like I want, normally it'll take about an hour and a half to cook. It all depends on the steak itself and how tender you want it. It also depends on the size of the steak, which today I had a very big steak and it was a calf steak. So I would say maybe an hour and a half. Then I take out my steak and I cut it up and throw it back into the pot for a little while and let it cook down and make my gravies. And that's about it. I don't normally cut my steak or my meat of any kind until it has been browned or it has been tenderized to the what I wanted, because of the fact that I feel that when you cut it up too soon, it tends to shrink. I start to brown it, and that's when you get your brown gravy. I do not brown mine before I get it tender like I want. I also add onion soup mix, and garlic and mushrooms if desired. Some people don't like mushrooms, some are allergic to the steak once it's been fully cooked, and just let it simmer for a few minutes until the mushrooms are pretty much wilted or pretty much cooked through. It doesn't take long because they're already cooked. When it's tender like I want it, I add water to make my gravy to the consistency I want. I also add my 2 packets of brown gravy into the meat, and that's it. The meat's cooked. My corn mock shoe, 2 cans of whole kernel corn, 2 cans of cream style. I add 1/4 can of diced tomatoes that has celery, onions, and bell pepper. But I also add a stick of butter, not margarine, because it gives it a better flavor, regular onions and regular bell pepper, and I let it cook down to the consistency I want, and until the onions are cooked, not thoroughly cooked, but just about fully cooked. And that's the corn makshu.